Happy Thursday, everybody. And first of all, let's just discuss this weather situation. Was not expecting that mess when I was coming in here. So I don't know if we're connected, but anyway, it says we're live. So hope everybody's safe and made it home okay and is staying warm because it was shocking. I didn't think I was going to get here. So anyway, we made it. This is not my home for anybody that's tuning in. This is my office space I'm working in. So happy Thursday again, everybody. And tonight's topic, we are discussing religion versus spirituality. No, I did not pick these topics. And the reason why I'm discussing this is because it is a question that I get over many times through my readings, and I wanted to answer for people. So just before we get into that, for people that have received gift certificates for birthdays or whatever, you cannot redeem them on the website. So please just either call the office or email Greg or I, and we will get you scheduled in. I just want to get that out of the way. Also, for people that are looking for readings for the holidays, I think I have Friday open that's left the day after Thanksgiving, and but that could all be gone now. So if anybody wants that, they can go straight to my website at philquinn.com. And okay, so let's just get into this topic here. The reason why I chose this is I often get this question is there a God? And does religion matter? So for anybody that is tuning in late to this or has not watched our Facebook Lives over the past year, almost year, the next week, I was raised Catholic, and during so, church was everything. So it was our life, and what I mean by that is every Saturday or Sunday you were going to church, you got confirmed, all of that business. So it's so church was a big part of my life growing up in Ireland, and because of that, the church has a lot of power. And again, I did not know. So one of the things that I learned through my religious experience was this doesn't work for me, and the reason why it didn't work for me was I had a lot of questions. And secondly, I had doubts about what was being said. And I'm not looking to be inflammatory tonight. I'm not looking to knock anybody's religion, but it just simply didn't make sense to me because what was being preached and then what the consequences were just simply didn't make sense. I couldn't have something loving, and then if I didn't follow these set of rules, then I was going to burn eternally in hell. Or whatever your current situation is in your religion. So, and because of that, I started to explore outside of myself. And what I mean is the church did not drive me to look for spirituality. What happened was when I went into church or any time that I travel, church is a place of a spiritual temple for me, and that's how I view it. Meaning that no matter what church I'm in, why it's a Catholic church, why it's a synagogue, why it's temple, wherever we are, that is my connection to my higher source of power. So I was always taught from the other side that church is a format of you connecting to God. You may not, hey Mike, you may not go in necessarily believing in everything, but you go in and it's a place where you can meditate and you can get out your feelings and connect with the other side. So really the spiritual part of this is, what is the difference, Phil? What's the difference between religion and spirituality? And one of the things that I said was, and has often been said in the past, religion is for people that fear hell, and spirituality is for people that have been through hell. And why does that resonate with me when this was taught to me back in the day? It resonated with me because in going to church all through of Ireland, it was that this path, if you come here every Sunday, is going to keep you out of trouble. It's going to keep you away from bad things. It's going to keep demons away from you. It's going to keep you out of hell. And if you deviate from this path, then you can come into confession, say you're sorry. I'll give you 10 Hail Marys, and then you're good to go. Again, I'm just giving you my experience. Versus spirituality is there are no 10 Hail Marys. There are no you're good to go. You are completely accountable for all of your actions. So in spirituality, we have to take responsibility for the things that we do. In organized religion, you follow these set rules and you're good to go and nothing bad can happen to you. Well, in the household that I grew up in, people were going to church every day, but bad things were still happening. And I said, this isn't making sense to me. So how can you do one thing but yet be forgiven for another? So as the older I got and as I start to come into my gift, I realized that the spiritual grounds that you're being held to are your own standards, the contracts that we have discussed before here in our previous videos. Those contracts being that I establish what I'm coming to earth for. That's our spiritual quest, is what to get through this. Again, I have no problem with people being in church. I have no problem with any of that. I completely believe in God, and I know people have issues with that. But my sense of God is not the God that I grew up with under Catholicism. So I don't feel judged, I don't feel frightened, I don't feel pain or anything like that in order to communicate with this, because I know I'm responsible for my actions and take responsibilities for those actions. So these were two major things at the beginning of my gift that I was struggling with. Is I was so indoctrinated into Catholicism that I knew that reaching out beyond that was considered a negative thing. So, but at the same time, I required more answers. So I'm an intelligent person, and I wanted to look beyond into other religions. So, and long before Christ, there was Buddha, and let's not forget about that, 600 years before Christ. And so many people have many different religions that they are able to connect with, and through those religions, it gives them a centering of peace. It's not to compare against one another. It's not to say my religion's better than your religion, but spirituality takes out the human mess. And what I mean by that is, as we know, religion is interpreted through years and years and years of whatever the experience may be. Spirituality is very simple. You're here for a set of rules. You're responsible for your behaviors. You're accountable for your behaviors. And whatever karma you send out, you're going to receive. Versus you can go in, or I could go back in, I could tell my priest what was going on, and he says, all right, Phil, you're forgiven, and now I can go back out, and what if I do it again? Well, I can't just keep doing this, because then you don't evolve. That was the second thing that I learned about spirituality, is that if you continue to repeat the same pattern, you're not evolving. If you are able to work through that pattern, you're able to evolve and you're able to grow, and that's what elevates us. So in this process tonight, and you guys are free to answer questions, one of the things that I wanted to make clear was, no matter if you're coming in for a reading or what your religious beliefs are, the other side completely knows who and what you are. If you had somebody in your family that was devout to any religion, when they cross over to the other side, they're going to see things maybe a little differently, but still have belief in their religion. So, and that's perfectly fine. But what I've always been told is all roads lead to Rome. And what they mean by that is, no matter what religion you're in, no matter what path you're on, we're all trying to get to the same goal, and we're all trying to get to on the other side. So somebody's talking about karma, is there a time limit? So, and that's another great question that leads me into spirituality. So we're kind of left that if somebody does something bad, then that's up to God. And then if there's karma, is that karma going to come into play at a time where Phil can see it, or in my lifetime? The thing about karma is, it is not retribution for what was done against us. So we can't just sit there and say, I'm going to wait until get our own, until that other person gets harmed, and therefore I feel satisfied because they harmed me. The purpose of karma is that person has committed this act. That's on them. I'm going to keep my side of the street clean, and I'm not going to get involved in this. But if we sit around wishing and waiting for bad things to happen on other people, we're essentially calling the same things to ourselves. That is what spirituality is. It's about taking responsibility for what you're sending out into the world. It's for taking responsibility for how you want to be perceived and what you want. Karma is a balance, isn't it? Karma is a balance. Sorry, I'm reading questions as it goes along here. Yes, karma is a balance, but we cannot control the timeline of when karma happens. I often hear people say, Phil, well, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And I'm like, don't know. I'm not the karma guy. Meaning that, what sent out into the universe, it's time. Years can go by before somebody sees a change or before something happens. But at the end of the day, it always takes place. Need to hear this tonight. I feel had these spiritual thoughts and guides around me. So one of the other thing is too, without spirituality, no religion is effective at all. Amen. Thank you, Corinne. That's exactly what I was trying to say. So without spirituality, there is no effective religion, because religion is based on the premise of love, and love is rooted in spirituality. And without love, there really can't be anything. And I'm not talking Mother Teresa love. I mean just being a kind person on a daily basis. So yes, we all have off days, we have bad days, things happen, we pull out from people. But it's it's part of the process that we do things without the intent to hurt somebody else. Hello, Liam. It's good seeing you. Liam and I grew up together in Belfast. But so that's what it's really about. It is, spirituality is the core of all religions, isn't it? I mean, that's what it's really all about, is that somebody has this set of beliefs, and that these beliefs are going to keep you strong, and they're going to keep you rooted, and they're going to keep family together. And that if we follow through on any of these practices, the only difference between spirituality is there really isn't a set of rules that you have to abide by, because you're simply in a position where you have to take responsibility and accountability for your actions, and only your actions. So if someone does something onto you, you don't have to sit back and accept that and continue to accept that, because you were taught that for better or for worse. So again, you don't allow people to treat you poorly. Remember that we have self-value. Go ahead, Jasper. I see a hand there.
So can you only be religious or only be spiritual?
No, you can be both. I'm both. My mother makes me wear a cross. I just don't wear it on Facebook Live. But I have not let go of my roots of Catholicism. And what I mean by that is it just centers me. So, but I go into it with a spiritual sense of self. I don't go into it reading scripture or reading book. That's just not who I am. But I mean, people that do it, it puts them into a form of meditation. So you can do both. It's one of those things. It doesn't have to be this or this, even though some religions say so. But on many levels, you can go in being spiritual and still have a connection with your church. I would never tell anybody to give up their religion. That would be silly. But the difference is spirituality is about being accountable for your actions. Go ahead, Jasper.
So Linda says, I agree with you. The problem that I find is that I have contact with people who are very religious and have tried to explain spirituality, and I've tried to explain spirituality to them, but it is like they feel they need to help me because I'm not going to church. Therefore, I'm not spiritual. I don't even try to explain myself anymore. I just keep it to myself.
This has reminded me of a time when Jasper and I were down south, and there was a guy standing outside preaching. Actually, we were in New Orleans in the district there in Bourbon Street, and he was outside preaching, yelling at everybody coming out of the bars about how they're going to burn in hell. Anyway, he and I struck up a conversation, and we're getting along perfectly fine because we're discussing religion. And the instant that he knew Jasper and I were together, it was complete shutdown, complete cut off, and I was going to burn in hell. And one of the things that I said to him was, I said, have you had a relationship or sex outside of marriage? He says, absolutely. And he says, but I've been forgiven for that. I'm like, wait a minute. These things don't simply add up. So it's when people try to make you believe something, don't try to change their mind. But I also don't try to teach people how to be spiritual. I just give them the information that I have, and it's up to them what they want to do with it. But I don't want to convert anybody. I have no interest in converting anybody. Everyone's got to find their own path. And sometimes that path leads us to a church. Sometimes that path leads us into a spiritual place. Sometimes that path does not bring us anywhere near God because of whatever the circumstances may be. Go ahead, Jasper.
So spirituality is kind of like having a relationship with God, but not going to church.
Spirituality is having a direct relationship with God without feeling the need to go to church. That's exactly what it is. It's that no matter where you are, that is your church. Spirituality is your temple. I always tell people when they come into my office, they always say, do you live here? And I say, this is a representation of how I feel spiritually. It's balanced, it's neat, it's orderly, whatever the situation may be. But it's all about your connection with your higher self, and whoever your higher self is, and whatever you want God to be, and whoever you need it to be, that is your spiritual contact. That's where it goes. Go ahead, Jasper.
So I've been in a church for years, and I'm starting to find myself in spirituality. But my family's in church, my loved ones are in church, my friends are in church. How do I reconcile with that?
So this is an interesting question that Jasper just asked. I find myself in church, but I've now found myself leading out into a more spiritual path. Everybody that I know is in church, but yet I'm afraid of letting anyone know that I feel spiritual or I feel different from what they say. So how do I reconcile that? And I always tell people, live your truth, but don't try to bring someone else down your path. As we don't allow someone to drag us into their path. We have to be willing participants. But people feel safe in their community and in their church, and that's where we want to leave them. Sometimes you have to branch out to find out what's right for you. But I would often advise you, don't be afraid to do so. Don't be afraid to investigate other religions or other forms of spirituality and healing, because there's many, many forms of it out there. Go ahead, Jasper.
So how come there's so many different types of religion when it's all about spirituality?
Why is there so... Well, I don't know why there's so many religions. And when it's all about spirituality. Look, I'm not going to go into all of this because I have a lot to say about the aspect of religion when it comes to structuring and keeping people fearful. But that would bring us down a totally different path. What I'm here to talk about tonight is that we can be both. We don't have to be just indoctrinated into one group and shy away from something else. It is absolutely possible to be spiritual, love God, and go to church. It happens all the time. I do it. So when I feel out of whack, I will go to a church and just reground and recenter myself. So it's very important that we all know that church is a form of meditation. It is a place where you can go and be safe. It is a place where you can go and connect with God. So it's not a place where you have to fear. Well, for a lot of people, but it is a place where you can go, do your business, talk to God, and leave. Go ahead, Jasper.
So I've been raised Southern Baptist for years. How do I know if I'm spiritual?
So I've been raised Southern Baptist for years. I think Jasper's asking this question. I've been raised Southern Baptist for years. I don't know, but we're going to find out in Thanksgiving. So, well, you know what? I have to be honest. When I went down south with Jasper's from the south, I was flabbergasted because, again, here in New England, we have so many different religions, we have so many different cultures, we have so many different people. And down south, it is you are Christian, this is the way it is, and it's no joke. And I was blown away by what I was seeing and these mega churches and all of these. It was just incredible. And these people are hardcore into this. And if you're not part of that, you're looked down upon. So I thought that was very interesting that they could be in such a loving place, but if you're not part of this, they look down on you. So that was an interesting take on that, because in spirituality, we don't look down on people, we give someone a hand. If someone is down, we reach down to see if they need to be picked up. We do not kick them when they're down. It's very important. So go ahead, Jasper.
So how do we start taking our first beginning steps in finding spirituality?
What's your first step in order to find your spiritual goal and your spiritual connection? Well, I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind here is that spirituality is a true internal personal path. And one of the things that we do when we go on our spiritual path is not going out looking for other things. It's about turning inward and saying, what do I need to work on with myself? What is it about me that I need to get to the bottom of? What is it that's haunting me? What is it that I haven't addressed? And one of the things about spirituality and anybody that's gone down this path, it's incredibly painful. It is incredibly painful to go digging and start addressing some of the things in your life that you overlooked or let go for so long. Versus you can go into a church or a temple or wherever it may be forgiven, and you're walked out the door, and therefore there's no exploratory work. But it's only through that spiritual work do you really grow, because you start getting out the things that are holding you down, that are holding you back. There's a lot of things about this topic that I would like to talk about, but I'm just not ready to. It's not important that I do it here. One of the main reason that I wanted to talk about this is a lot of people were asking me, can you be both? Can you go to church and can you be spiritual? And the question is 1,000%. And I encourage people to do it. I encourage everyone to stay close in their community in whatever format that is. But the main difference is being spiritual means that you have to do the hard work. Going deep, telling people no, putting yourself first, letting other people down because you have to take care of yourself. That's the hard stuff versus always saying yes and putting yourself last. So, and that's what I try to encourage people to do, is put yourself first, because if you do that, then everything else will fall into line. Go ahead, Jasper.
As far as spirituality goes, how does it affect your chakras?
So as far as spirituality goes, does it really affect your chakras, or does it change your energy patterns? I'm just adjusting my leg here. And the answer to that is it really depends on what you're looking for. So you can be, if you're working in a particular chakra through your spiritual beginnings and or diggings or religious diggings, it's going to open that energy point that you're going to. So if people are going into church because they've lost somebody, or people are going into church because they just need to vent, or people are going into whatever their place of religion is in order to just connect and meditate, then what it's going to do is it's going to align all of your energy points. I don't know many people that have ever left church unhappy. So it's a good place to go and let it out. Hi, Kathy. Saw that dog. I didn't respond to you because she was very cute. Go ahead, Jasper.
So with religion and spirituality aside, I'm having a really hard time. I feel like God's not listening to me.
So with religion and spirituality put aside, I feel like God's not listening to me. Or am I not listening to God? So this is also another topic that I get. Is, Phil, why isn't God listening to me? And I say, are you not listening to God because you don't like the answer? And a lot of times when we're doing self-work and healing, we don't like the hard answer. We want the simple way out. So the other side, and I'm going to just say the other side rather than God, because everyone has their different belief in God, but the other side is always aware of what you need. Nothing really comes out of the blue. We're often warned one form or another. That's why hindsight's always 20/20. But you are always guided. They always know what's going on, and it's very important that you know that if you're ever in a struggle, your family is going to come to your aid from the other side. Go ahead, Jasper.
So with the other side, is it like how religion describes? Cloudy, gold buildings?
So Jasper's asking is, with the other side, is it like what religions describe? I grew up in a different religion than Jasper. So is it filled with clouds? Is it filled with gold? Are there big pearly gates? No. And it's just, guys, I'm sorry. At least from what I've seen from the other side, that's not the way it is. It is filled with your family members. It is filled with all the people that you knew and were there before you. But it's not like there's this big long line where you got to check in and go through. Because remember, you do your own soul review. You cross over and you go to the other side and you go through all of that process. But it's not with there's it is beautiful. I will say that. The colors are incredibly vibrant. The landscapes are just absolutely amazing. So it's very hard to describe because it is like Earth, but it's not like Earth at the same. Go ahead, Jasper.
Carol says, my spirituality is my God, my angels, my love for other people, and my everyday life.
Amen.
My religion is a history and instruction guideline.
Amen. And that's really a great way of summing up both spirituality and religion. So, I think people think that, I'm like this heathen because I didn't come from a religious background. But I came from a very, very religious background. And secondly, they're like, Phil, how do you reconcile being Catholic and yet talking to the other side? And I often tell them, hey, I didn't go looking for this. So it wasn't like I said, you know what, I'm going to rebel against some sort of religion or whatever it is. This happened to me. And the way I looked at it was, this is why I came to Earth. I was brought here simply to do my job. I'm a vessel for the other side. I don't feel overly important. I don't feel special. Simply, somehow, when I communicate with people like you right now, my brain turns on and I start seeing your family members. I don't know why it happened, but it just happens to me. And all of my past has brought me to this point today where I can share this information with you all. So nothing happens by accident on the other side. Go ahead, Jasper.
Is your religion preset in your contract, or do you
Good night, Liam.
get to choose when you grow on earth?
So here's the thing. So I'm going to, good night, Liam. I'm on the other side. I'm going to decide to reincarnate. What do I do? So you choose which religion and what country you're going to be born into. You choose where you're coming. So, but again, the religion isn't necessarily, it's either going to be a determining factor in your contract or it's not. Remember, there's a lot of people that were raised a certain way and they don't practice. It's just the way it is. So here's the thing. It's that what they're telling you to do is, what the other side is really telling you to do is come in here, affect people as best you possibly can in a positive way, and all the rest will fall into place. So it doesn't matter what religion you're going to be brought into, but I do have a lot of people that are devout to their religion and their family members won't even let them date outside that religion. So, but yet they find themselves wanting to step outside of that. So what do? Do you get ostracized for your family, or do you toe the line? And that is the spiritual contract. That is the spiritual question is, do I allow myself to be the sheep, or do I stand out? And a lot of people who, at least I communicate with, stand out. What they do is they become fighters and they say, I'm going to be better than what is being taught because I know differently. And that is the justification for spirituality, where you say, I'm not going to stand by when a religion persecutes somebody for being something that they can't be. And spirituality is saying that I'm going to accept people for who they are, even though they piss me off, even though I may not like them or understand them, but I'm going to accept them because they're another soul and another human being. And that is the big difference. Go ahead, Jasper.
Tori asks, who helped you find your spirituality? I've been trying to figure out how to connect to my spirituality. I tend to be sensitive to the other side, but my anxiety is getting in the way of finding some sort of calm connection.
Tori, no one really helped me find my spirituality. It was just something that happened to me over time because I never knew to go looking for it. So what happened to me, spirituality kind of came about to me when the other side, for each reading that I have done over the years, they have just taught me more and more and more about the other side. And what happened was it just didn't line up with what I was being taught. So by doing so, I realized that, okay, we're kind of almost there. A lot of religions talk about the same thing and get us to the same place. But it was by learning from the other side that I realized that, okay, structured religion isn't necessarily has all the answers. There's more things that are out there. And that's what began my journey. So go ahead, Jasper.
So I have a loved one, a child, that is presently going through some things, and I feel like it has to do with the lack of spirituality. I don't know where to start. Would it be a good idea to take them with me to church?
So I have a child that's going through some things that has a lack of spirituality. What do? Do I bring my child to church? Do I take my child to yoga? Do I teach my child other religions? What do I do? First thing I always tell people is ask your kid what's important to them. Because what was important 50 years ago and what's important today are two entirely different things. And I know we want to keep certain things aligned and we want to keep certain family traditions into place. But remember, your children come through you, they're not of you. So it's important that you give your kids some sort of basis of religion and or spirituality, because in many religions there's lots of great messages. There's lots of positive messages. So they're the things that we want to help the child or the people understand that it's not all about me, that it's about other people as well. So one of the reason why I talked about this is because I want to end with this. Don't be afraid to explore. Don't be afraid to try. And most importantly, give yourself permission to look beyond what you were taught. Open your eyes. It's a big world. There's many things out there to be seen. And if you look at it that way, you're going to see that spirituality is around you no matter where you're at. You will see wonderful and beautiful things all the time. So I thank you all for joining me tonight. I hope that answers some of the questions on this topic. I will see you next Thursday, I believe, which is Thanksgiving. And that will bring us to a year of Facebook Live. Yay!
Yay!
So Jasper unfortunately will not be here because
Aww.
he's going down to his family, and I'm up here because I'm working. So it's so I'll see you all next Thursday. Thank you all. Anybody has any questions, philquinn.com. And again, if you need to book a reading, everything's right through the website. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. God bless.